UFC 314 goes down in about 24 hours, and I thought I'd make a quick video giving my predictions on each fight on the main card, starting with Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. This is a good matchup. I think all of the fights on this card, without exception, are incredibly difficult to predict. They're all 50-50. The odds are quite close for pretty much all of them, except for the Bryce Mitchell, June Silva one, although I think this is a closer fight than the odds make it out to be. But starting off, nonetheless, with Krylov versus Reyes, I am going with Nikita Krylov to win this fight. Reyes has strung together a couple of wins after his recent skid that he had after we all know he beat John Jones. And in pretty much those string of losses that he had, he was getting brutally finished. It's honestly surprising that he's even been able to win after those string of devastating losses. But he's going up against Nikita Krylov, and Nikita Krylov, I mean, he's had a few losses in recent years, but those losses have only been to the best in the division. Ankalaev, he's lost to Blachowicz. He's lost to Glover Teixeira as well. They were all champions in the UFC. The Magomed Ankalaev fight was a close fight. In my opinion, it was competitive, but that's pretty much every Ankalaev fight. You can't really do much with that. Um, it's tough to say. I just trust in the youth of Krylov to kind of pull off this win versus the kind of age. Dominic Reyes isn't old by any means for this division. I mean, look at what Yan is achieving, but given the fact that he isn't exactly too far removed from those losses that he suffered, I think against a guy like Krylov who's younger, he hits hard as well. Krylov hits hard. He's got a good number of knockouts on his resume. I could see him potentially putting out Reyes as well. I'm gonna go with Krylov. I don't think Reyes is gonna knock out someone like Krylov. I mean, Krylov I think has only been finished like a couple of times in his career, and they were against like some of the hardest hitters the UFC has seen. I believe it was Jan Blachowicz. If I'm no, sorry, um, it was Yuri, and Yuri knocks out everyone. If he wins, he knocks him out. And it was Daniel Cormier, who's obviously a big boy for the light heavyweight division. And that's it. The rest of the losses are pretty much decision losses. I think he's fairly durable. I'm favoring him to beat Dominic Reyes in this one by finish due to strikes. Moving on up, we have Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva. And Gene Silva, if you look at his resume, he's on an absolute tear, knocking people out. The way he pieced up Drew Dober was impressive to watch, but it's Drew Dober. Like, he's been in I mean, he's lost to pretty much everyone now at this point. It's not an impressive win to have under your belt. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like Bryce Mitchell has been, coming off great wins. He's been losing as well, but he's lost to the best. I mean, I don't know what that counts for. I mean, he did get knocked out pretty bad by Josh Emmett, and Gene Silva hits pretty hard. But I believe we have seen Gene Silva get out wrestled in some of his fights. I'm trusting in Bryce Mitchell to use his wrestling to tire out Gene Silva. Don't get me wrong, Bryce Mitchell's stand-up isn't the best. It's not the best at all, but I'm trusting in him to stick to the grappling right out the gate and to outwork Gene Silva in those exchanges. And yeah, that's how I see him winning. If he tries to stand, then he's probably going to get knocked out. But I'm trusting in him to not do that. That newfound religiosity that he has, I think, it's given him a focus, and we've seen that. I think in the press conferences, and the interviews that he's had. I think he's actually dialed in. I don't think he's just putting on an act. I think he's genuinely, serious about dialing in and beating the demon out of Gene Silva. I'm trusting in Bryce Mitchell. I don't think it's pronounced Gene Silva. I think it's Gian or some weird pronunciation, but I'm gonna call him Gene because it's easier for me. Moving on up, Yair Rodriguez versus Patricia Pitbull. This is a problem. All of these fights are so difficult to predict. I don't know who wins this fight. Again, it's similar with the previous one. I'm just gonna trust in. I'm gonna trust in the youth of Yair Rodriguez. Patricia Pitbull is even the recent fights he's not had against like the very best that MMA has to offer. Forget about the UFC. MMA, obviously, he's just coming from Bellator, right? So I have to go with someone like Yair Rodriguez. You know, he's uh, Patricia Pitbull fought a bantamweight when he first started off in the UFC. He's not a big even featherweight. So I'm gonna go with Yair Rodriguez. I mean, he's a big boy. He's 5'11". He's tall. He's long. You have to win this fight. I mean, there's no way you lose. I mean, he has to win this one, right? Against a smaller guy in Patricia Pitbull. I can see Yair Rodriguez outworking him on the feet. I could see Pitbull making it close, though. I could see him making it close, but I'm picking Rodriguez by decision. I think he gets this one in the bag. Moving on up, Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. I've given these top two fights the most thought out of the main card. Even though, again, I still see it as 50-50, I'm picking Paddy Pimblett. Again, I'm trusting in that seems to be the case with a lot of the fights on the main card. It's a case of, do you want to trust the veteran in one fighter, or do you want to trust the youth in the other? And I'm going with the youthfulness in Paddy Pimblett. It's not just that. Michael Chandler is just a bit of an idiot when he fights. He fights like an idiot. He doesn't really, you know, put together an effective strategy to win. He kind of just does whatever. And I don't think it's because he's just stupid. I think there's a part of him that I know it sounds ridiculous to say. I think there's a part of him that's just fatigued. And he's like, you know what? Let me just make it look like I'm just I don't care if I'm going to win or lose. I think he does that as like a coping mechanism. And so you can say, yeah, look at me. I wasn't, I don't care if I win or lose. I'm just gonna, have someone on my back and do a backflip or whatever at the same time. It's a way for him to cope after the loss. So you can just start talking about, oh, look at the highlights of me doing a backflip in the cage. But I think he's like genuinely like doesn't know what to do in those situations and he's just getting outworked. That's just his way of coping. I'm picking Paddy Pimblett. I think he's slimy on the ground. He's slimy. He's slippery. He'll find his way onto Michael Chandler's back and submit him. If Dustin Poirier can submit him, I think Paddy Pimblett can submit him as well. And Paddy Pimblett is gonna be hungrier. Leon Edwards just lost the belt for the UK MMA scene, and Paddy Pimblett that should put a fire under him to regain that mantle for UK MMA. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have a champ in Tom Aspinall, but he just does not have the same name value, and I think Paddy Pimblett knows that. So maybe that will give him some newfound motivation to go out there and win in an impressive fashion, more so than he previously would have. So I'm picking Paddy. The main event of the evening, Volkanovski versus Lopez. Again, I'm going with Lopez. I look at the odds. Yeah, Alexander is a very, very slight favorite. I'm picking the slight underdog in Diego Lopez. I'm trusting in him to hurt Volk. I could see Volk outwork. In fact, I'm going to say this. Volk is going to outwork Lopez. I'm saying that right now. He's going to outwork him on the feet. But he's going to get caught. I could see an early stoppage type of situation where Lopez tags him, hurts Volkanovski, and then the ref kind of steps in maybe a tad early because we've seen Volk coming off of 2 KOs, and it's like, hey, there's no point giving him more CTE, right? So I'm picking Lopez. Could he hurt him and then maybe even jump on a submission? I know Volk has not been submitted before, to my knowledge, but there's always a first, right? I could see that as well after hurting him. I'm picking a Lopez. I'm picking Lopez to win. I think he's got this one. He's a hungrier fighter. He should be the hungrier fighter. You know, he lost to Mofsar everywhere, and he's the one getting a title shot. You got to think, if you're Lopez and the guy who beat you doesn't get the title shot, you're getting it over him. You're going to be like, damn, this is my opportunity. I need to win right now. And then settle the score with Evloev. I think he's going to want to win, you know, and I think he's going to have that fire under him more so than Volkanovski. Volkanovski is just a tad older, coming off of 2 KOs. I'm picking with Lopez. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions. Let me know what you think down below, who you're picking in this fight. All of these fights are 50-50. I don't agree with the odds on Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva. It is not at +225, -2. I mean, I can see why they've done that because Bryce Mitchell, has been getting brutally KO'd, but against the very best, Topuria, man, the guy people are saying is the one to dethrone Makachev, apparently. I mean, Gene Silva is knocking out Drew Dober. I can see him getting out wrestled. You're got to trust the wrestler in these matchups, I feel, just from a logical standpoint. And he's the underdog. I mean, I can see why. I'm not saying it's crazy that he's the underdog, but this much of an underdog is kind of interesting to me. But these are all 50-50. These are all 50-50. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you're picking. And we'll see how I do.